Hello, happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me. If it is Sunday when you're picking to watch this, to join me. It is May 18th, 2025, while I'm recording this. It is another episode of my Not Your Average Bible Studies. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and today we will be closing out chapter 13 in Matthew. Picking up where we left off, just to say quickly here at the start, as titled, this is not an average Bible study, and this is not from a traditional view. It's more of a metaphysical approach to this reading, and this is my first time reading New Testament. I'm reading a Gideon's Pocket version. It is King James Version. 1973 edition, for anybody who's interested. I am new to this, to Christianity. I'm not a traditional Christian. I would say I am non-conforming to anything except the truth. So I'm a seeker of truth, and I would say if I had to pick a point of worship or following to guide my way and to align my life to and to pledge allegiance to, it would be the truth and things that are true and that reside and remain in the truth. So that has led me to reading this, and has led me on a journey of discovering many different prophets and, masters, ascended masters, gurus, all across different varieties and genres of history, the world, and cultures. And of course, Jesus is a major figure, and Jesus pops up in many places. So I'm not a stranger to him or his story or Christianity. I just didn't grow up in a traditional religious background. I won't get into my backstory. If you are interested in hearing more about me and you're new, or if you're not so new but you've just missed those earlier episodes, maybe you weren't into the Bible studies, it's not a typical topic for me. It really is not. However, like I've said, this is a quest of the truth for myself, and so happens to lead here right now. So thanks for joining, even if it isn't your total cup of tea or your original intentions to be a theologian or anything like that. Know that you're around like-minded people who are curious and just interested in hearing multiple perspectives. It doesn't mean we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, join the tribe, throw away our whole lives, or anything like that. Become totally different people. I don't feel that's what needs to happen. I feel it's a refinement of coming back to truth, and we find who we truly are, and we find those things which resonate with those things, coming closer to those. And so I'm finding those types of resonances here in my readings and bringing them up and speaking about them, speaking about the truths that I hear in these words. So again, thanks for joining, and I think we'll just get right into reading. And anyone who is interested in previous things, you could check that out at a different time, or, feel free to do it right now and listen to me here late at another time. But for those of us who are maybe returning with me, ready to listen now, let's jump into, I left off at 43. So we're in Matthew 13, verse 43. I'll read 44. And just before I do read, I really like these next couple of verses here, where he gives these examples or metaphor, really, of what the kingdom of heaven is. It's so different, and each one has their own sort of interpretation. Again, I sort of talked about this in the last episodes, but the way that Jesus knows how to speak the correct words to the people who are hearing them, speak or make analogies using references that are very tangible, very graspable, and at the level of the people who are hearing it. It's so wonderful. And just the diverse ways that he can turn perspective and turn parable or analogies, these metaphors, into all of these different beautiful displays. It's like, the mannequin wearing all of these different beautiful jackets. Each one is still a coat, it's still a jacket, but depending on what work the people have done up until this time, where they live at, what is, relative to them specifically, their city, their peoples, their history, those things that are most common to them, most well understood and sort of integrated into life, those things that are almost innate. He really draws on those to teach them in that angle specifically. The fisherman, the businessman, each gets a separate. Let me let him speak for himself here. How about that? So 44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a treasure hid in a field, the which when a man hath found he hiddeth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchantman seeking godly pearls, who when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea, and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they drew it to shore, and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. Now each of these analogies, not only do they fit the set and setting and sort of the comfortable reference points for those peoples and for each kind of variety of people of seeking, they also come with a price. They also come. It's a trade-off, almost, because all of them. Well, the man with the field and the pearls, the businessman, they sell all that they have. He sells his other home to go live in this field. Now he has a whole new home that is of this new field with the treasure. And the man seeking the pearls finds the best pearl. He doesn't need to seek any other pearls anymore. And he's already sold everything. So there's this giving away. And same thing with the fish. I mean, it's the literal, we don't keep all of the fish. Some are too small. Some are not the, different kind we don't want to eat. Or some are diseased maybe, or maybe they put the women back, the pregnant ones, the babies, I don't know. Fishermen these days, they measure them and can only keep certain ones. But not to say what their choice of good or bad might have been a little different, but probably similar back then. Just interesting to also know that and to see what he's teaching. And he's not saying simply the kingdom of heaven is this place in the sky after you die you go to, or something like they make it out to be. If it was something of that sense, I think he would have said it more truly to that descriptions, but he doesn't say anything like that. In fact, it's always brought up that it's ever present to be brought here. The world here is to be made like the kingdom of heaven. And so, it goes again to sort of speak of his understandings about the differences in the world and sort of the hard and easy, the dark and the light, the truth and lies, the good and the bad. Let's pick it back up with 49. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angel shall come forth and sever the wicked from amongst the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. He says this quite often, wailing and gnashing of teeth. It's so interesting. The translation, the description, the imagery that gets brought up with this. And also how, sort of when we have these bad habits, when we have these sort of shadowy aspects about ourselves, when we have these sins or these things marked as, unclean or dirty, these aspects of ourselves that are not perfect or pruned or pure, that have, aspects of uncomfortability and negativity, self-serving aspects to them. Even it's interesting because there's always this sort of anger. This exactly like he's mentioned. It's gnashing of teeth and wailing, is kind of the outward symptomatic things that we sort of do to express those nasty feelings within us, right? It's either we are, when we're confronted with something, that is something we should change about ourselves, we feel, or is a negative reactions, responses, habits, choices we've made in the past or whatever, there's usually one of two responses. Either there's the wailing pity party, oh, I shouldn't have done that, oh, why did I, oh, pity me for doing it, I'm a fool, or I was stupid, or sort of these over, these sort of feelings, right? This sort of more of a victimized sort of standing. Or there's that dig in your heels and a defensive response that's aggressive and mad, like, how dare you confront me about that? It's sort of more willing to like fight again, like the gnashing of the teeth, right? So it's kind of, it's to see it, him maybe trying to point out these things and call to that there will be a lot of that, but it won't matter at that point anymore. Just like kind of when you've given your child multiple warnings, not to do this or not to do that, don't touch the stove, it's hot, and then they go and do it anyways, or they overstep it, and you've got to put them in a timeout because you've set already the boundaries. If you keep doing that, you're going to do a timeout. When it comes down to the timeout, or they touch the stove, they're hurt, they're crying, they're wounded, or there's a rebuttal and a fight happening as to get them to go do their timeout, or to get them to deal with the pain, but that's already, the repercussions, the balancing force has been called forth. You have to have that. And just like Jesus explaining here, there's going to be a lot of that, but it's not going to matter anymore, because what the clean cuts are going to be made. The repercussions are going to be called in. The balancing force is going to even things out. But what's told to us always again and again, and what we even tell to the child, is, I still love you anyways, you're good. Those things are not you. They don't define you. You can change. You're better than that. I know you are. Here's some time to reflect on that. Here's a moment of time out, or a few minutes to think on why you've acted that way. How could you have been different? How could you choose differently next time? When we know that these are coming from a place of betterment, that the worthy parts of us will last, then we become more sovereign and responsible. We want to make better choices. We want to live in the light. We want to put our best foot forward every day, because we know all those things do matter and they do last. And it's easier to forgive ourselves through the harder things, and to do like good inner alchemy work for ourselves, the emotional work to heal ourselves, because the healing does happen, and the bad things do fade away. The pain does disappear. We do regenerate. That hand will heal, in the burnt hand metaphor. And we don't have to do anything really either. God takes care of that. Innate body and infinite intelligence knows how to heal. Like they say, time heals everything, but it's more of the doing of nothingness, or the happening of nothingness, is what heals in itself. The acceptance and the release into it brings forth newness always. And that newness is shaded in positivity. It's shaded in support. It's shaded in healing. New beginnings, a making through, a making the best of what is to be had to be left over. There's truth left there, and we can always build anew out of truth. Truth is solid ground, doesn't fade. All that's left and gone was the chaff, was the ashes. Things that can burn are not, they're lies to begin with, manipulations and distortions. They were not real. And anyways, now I've sort of gotten into my own introspective talking points. But I feel like it's so true in the times that we're at these days. And I talked about this in the earlier episode before this. One of my favorite images is this sort of field that was, the image that's created in the sower parable, and this field with the wheat growing, really tall, and all the weeds in between it, and the angels above, with the scythes, with the ropes and all of this, ready to do. The harvest is coming. Everything is ready, almost there, and that it doesn't, we grew up strong wheat anyways. It doesn't matter, the wheat, the weeds that were there, the others that are there. It's such a image of resolution to me, to know, we've grown up, much like roses in the concrete, so many of us, around negativity, around toxicity, chaos. It's been dark times. And yet we rise, and yet we're here, right? And yet, much like even through the hardest seasons, you get some crops. It might not have been best season crops. It might not be every plant puts off multiple, but there's to be had. There's beans. There's a couple strawberries. There's one still there, and they're precious and they're beautiful, and they're worth the picking. So let's pick it back up. 51. Jesus saith unto them, Have ye understood all these things? They say unto him, Yeah, Lord. Yes, Lord, we do. Yes, 10 times 10 we do. We've done enough discovery and enough 10 timing, 10s to the 10th power. Let's bring it back to easy, simple truths, please, Lord. Then said he unto them, Therefore every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old. And this, I feel, again, is a call to the responsibility of truth, of translating truth, of sharing truth, and of treating all others as if they are your brothers. They are people who you would welcome into your home. Sharing and telling and relating what has happened, what is trying to be taught, the truth of it in true ways, and also in new ways. And it's to make it personal, to tailor fit your home to your likings, and to tailor fit your parables to your likings, and to those who come to share them as well. I think I think a lot of it gets overlooked, and a lot of people get jammed into Jesus is the only way and his word is the word, when in fact I really think that it gets a bit misinterpreted there. He wanted everyone's truth to be the word, and his truth was his own word, and he was trying to teach by showing, and by living in the truth, and by showing truth spoken in many different parables from many different angles and ways, showing the mannequin cut of the man, and that any clothing can be put on it to make it more beautiful, and still found the truth of the word and the teachings within it. The Father, the cut is still there, and it's still ever present, the same. And that honoring that and living in that in your true way was actually your true way, to shine, your true way to honor him, to find his way. That's what I hear in the words, at least. And so I feel, he gives this sort of ending off to the parables and the teachings and all the knowledge to tell people, much like he did with his disciples in the previous chapters, about you have taught all these healings and how to help people and how to do all of this great work. Now go forth and go out and do it, and don't bring anything with you. Don't ask for money. Don't even have a plan. Just go, and the point is God will take you to where needs to be done. Those people who will be called to you. That's the point of the exercise. And so much like that, I think he's kind of giving the point of the exercise here at the end. So we'll pick it up, 53, where they seal the deal. And it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these parables, he departed thence. Okay? And I love the end of this chapter here. I'm going to speak at the end after I read this whole little chunk, but when I ever read this little chunk here, I had to stop and just put it down and think about my own life, and think about the way sometimes I feel in my own life. I'm a bit of a black sheep in my own family. And so this was just really humbling, and also supportive, and almost like a bit of camaraderie here, dare I say. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, Whence has this man this wisdom, and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brethren, James, and Joseph, and Simon, and Judas? And his sisters, are not they all with us? Whence then hath this man all these things? And when they were offended in him, but Jesus said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, save his own country and his own house. And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief. And for me to read that Jesus literally did not do works and miracles in his hometown for the very reasons that they couldn't accept him because of their previous ideas of who he was. They couldn't step out of their own constraints of slavery, the mind control of memory that we hold others' enslavement of. They couldn't even set him free. So how would they ever set themselves free? It's impossible. And he knew that so righteously that he just didn't do anything there. He just let them continue to be like, okay, you think I'm whoever I still am. You can't get it. That's all right. You know, and he knew a prophet is not without honor, save his own country and his own house. And that's a kind of an ethical saying. That's a morality. That's a parable Jesus was heard probably in elsewhere because it's long-standing, especially in Eastern traditions. You know, so I'm sure he heard that in his travels beforehand, you know, and it's playing out quite plain truth in front of his face. And he's saying, wow, you know, how true that is. So yeah, I thought to myself, this is a way of, like he said, to shake the dust and the sand from your feet and to move on. We can only help in so much as others want to be helped, because there is this external third-party co-creative reality. I believe Jesus calls it the kingdom of heaven and the Father and the way. And not to say that I don't think that there's a creator outside that's the great logos and Father image or aspects of that, but I would think that God creator source outside of here and now is much differently than we could ever interpret in capacities. And perhaps, you know, I don't want to get into too many tidbits of argumentative points and dig my heels into the ground about anything really, but just in so much as my perspective I like to hold loosely. But it's helpful to have that language, to have common ground to stand on, to say the truth, that, you know. I think I will leave it there for today. And thank you all, everyone out there listening, for your audience, for your attention, and for taking time out in your own time and day to honor great scripture, great work, seeking truth, sharing unconditional love and friendship, loyalty, a commitment to coming back, right, as well. So thank you, as I'm thanking myself for that, and honoring God and Jesus and all great aspects of benevolence and any sort of masters and thinking that have, you know, come before us. It's nice to have a day and time where we offer up our own presence of now and put everything else aside and remember those things. Remember connectivity and the great truth and the oneness of all. So thank you for doing that with me. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Sunday. If it's early in the morning like it is for me, I hope you enjoy your wonderful day. I'm going to enjoy mine, and I will see you next week.